When Naoya Inoue stepped into the ring against Jason Moloney on Halloween night in 2020, the atmosphere was charged with expectation. This was not just another defense of a world title, nor was it a routine performance to keep his career ticking along. It was something much larger, a defining moment staged in America, a chance to silence doubters who had emerged after his grueling war with Nonito Donaire 1 year earlier, and an opportunity to make a violent statement to the boxing world. What followed was a showcase of speed, precision, and ruthless finishing instinct that reinforced his reputation as one of the most dangerous fighters alive. To understand why this knockout of Maloney carried such weight, it is necessary to look back at the journey of Naoya Inoue, the Japanese fighter known as the Monster, and how his path was forged through destruction, resilience, and a relentless pursuit of greatness. Born in Zama, Kanagawa, in 1993, Naoya Inoue grew up in a boxing family. His father, Shingo Inoue, was not only his trainer but also the architect of the style that would later shock the world. From an early age, Inoue displayed a sharpness and maturity in the ring that belied his youth. In the Japanese amateur scene, he quickly established himself as a standout talent, known less for raw athleticism and more for uncanny timing and a natural instinct for punching angles. By the time he turned professional in 2012, Inoue was already being discussed as one of the brightest prospects Japan had ever produced. Yet, few could have predicted how quickly he would ascend. Most fighters are eased into professional boxing, gradually climbing the ranks against journeymen and fringe contenders. Inoue's career trajectory was different. His handlers, guided by his father and Japanese promoters, placed him on a fast track, confident that he had the composure and skill set to thrive against seasoned professionals. The early fights of Inoue's career did little to calm the excitement. His speed was dazzling, his defense compact, and his punch placement surgical. What truly shocked observers, however, was his power. Lighter-weight fighters often rely on speed and volume, overwhelming opponents through accumulation rather than single-punch devastation. Inoue was different. Even at 108 pounds, his punches cracked with a thud that echoed like a much larger man's. Opponents crumbled under shots that seemed to come from nowhere, and only his sixth professional bout, Inoue challenged Mexico's Adrian Hernandez for the WBC light flyweight title. Hernandez was no pushover, a veteran with a proven chin and world championship pedigree. But Inoue dominated him with startling ease, breaking him down with body shots and stopping him in the sixth round. At just 20 years old, he was already a world champion. Japan had seen great fighters before, but none had ever risen so quickly. Rather than rest on his achievements, Inoue immediately pursued greater challenges. By his eighth fight, he had already moved up to super flyweight, skipping an entire weight class. In 2014, he faced Omar Narvaez, a long-reigning champion who had successfully defended his belt more than 10 times. Many believed Inoue was biting off more than he could chew. Instead, he obliterated Narvaez in 2 rounds, dropping him 4 times with vicious precision. The performance stunned the boxing world. Inoue wasn't just winning, he was destroying champions with frightening ease. Over the following years, he continued his tear through the lighter divisions, cementing his nickname, the Monster. His fights rarely went the distance, and his victims included respected names such as Kohei Kono and Juan Carlos Peano. The question was no longer whether he was world-class, it was how far he could climb. Could his power translate as he rose through the weights? Would he eventually meet his match against bigger, stronger opponents? By 2018, Inoue had set his sights on the bantamweight division. Standing in his way was Jamie McDonnell, a British fighter who had held a world title for years and had not tasted defeat in over a decade. McDonnell was tall for the weight, with long arms and the kind of ring experience that should have troubled a smaller man moving up. Before the fight, McDonnell dismissed Inoue as overhyped, claiming that he would expose the Japanese star and make it look easy. The reality could not have been more different. From the opening bell, Inoue ripped into McDonnell with clinical body shots and a thunderous overhand right. Less than 2 minutes into the first round, McDonnell collapsed under the assault. The referee waved it off, and Inoue had made his bantamweight debut in devastating fashion. It was not just a victory, it was a statement that his power had carried upward and that he was a threat to anyone at 118 pounds. The timing of Inoue's rise was perfect. The World Boxing Super Series, WBSS, was assembling the best bantamweights in a tournament designed to crown the division's true king. For Inoue, it was an opportunity to prove himself against elite competition on a global stage. His first opponent was Juan Carlos Peano, a seasoned Dominican fighter with slick defensive skills. Many expected Inoue to be tested over several rounds. Instead, the fight ended in just 70 seconds. A perfectly timed right hand landed flush, and Peano collapsed in a heap. The knockout was replayed endlessly across social media, highlighting Inoue's frightening blend of speed and precision. In the semifinals, he faced Emmanuel Rodriguez, an undefeated Puerto Rican champion. The fight carried extra tension due to an incident during the build-up, when Rodriguez's trainer had insulted Inoue's father. If Rodriguez's team hoped to rattle the Japanese star, it backfired. Inoue unleashed a ferocious assault, dropping Rodriguez 3 times in the second round before the referee halted the contest. In less than 5 minutes of ring time, Inoue had captured 2 world titles and barely taken a clean punch. The WBSS final set the stage for Inoue's biggest test yet, Nonito Donaire. The Filipino veteran was a legend, a multiple-time world champion known for his devastating left hook and his ability to finish fights in an instant. Though past his prime, Donaire carried experience, composure, and enough power to hurt anyone. Many expected Inoue to win comfortably. Instead, the bout turned into a war. From the early rounds, Inoue was tested like never before. Donaire's timing and counterpunching troubled him, and in the second round, Inoue suffered a fractured orbital bone. Blood streamed down his face as he fought through pain and adversity. Yet rather than fold, he dug deep, showcasing not only his offensive brilliance but also his toughness and heart. In the 11th round, he landed a brutal body shot that nearly ended the fight, but Donaire survived to the final bell. After 12 grueling rounds, Inoue won by unanimous decision, unifying the titles and claiming the WBSS trophy. The fight was celebrated as a classic, earning Fight of the Year honors. But the toll it took on Inoue was clear. For the first time, questions arose. Was he as invincible as his reputation suggested? Had Donaire exposed vulnerabilities that others could exploit? For a year, those questions lingered while Inoue healed and stayed out of the ring. When Inoue finally returned in late 2020, the boxing world was watching closely. His opponent was Jason Moloney, a tough and disciplined Australian contender who had built a reputation for grit and resilience. Maloney was no pushover. He believed he could test Inoue's chin, push him deep into the fight, and perhaps capitalize on the doubts created by the Donaire war. But Inoue entered the ring with a different aura that night. From the opening bell, he was calm, patient, and calculated. He stalked Maloney behind a stiff jab, cutting off the ring and forcing the Australian into uncomfortable positions. Unlike some of his earlier fights, he did not rush for a quick knockout. Instead, he applied steady pressure, waiting for Maloney to make mistakes. Maloney fought bravely, using his guard and footwork to stay competitive. He landed occasional counters and refused to be intimidated. Yet the difference in class was clear. Every time Maloney opened up, Inoue punished him with blistering combinations. His punches carried both speed and authority, snapping Maloney's head back and gradually sapping his confidence. By the middle rounds, Inoue was in full control. A lightning-fast left counter in the 6th sent Maloney to the canvas. Though he rose, the tide had turned completely. Inoue could sense the end approaching, and his attack grew sharper and more vicious. Then came the 7th round. Inoue unleashed a thunderous right hand that crashed against Maloney's jaw. The Australian collapsed to the canvas, his body crumpling in defeat. Though he tried to rise, the referee had seen enough. The fight was over. Inoue had announced his return in the most brutal fashion possible. The knockout of Jason Moloney was more than just another highlight for Inoue's growing reel. It was a statement. Critics who had questioned his durability after the Donaire fight were silenced. He had shown that not only was he still the destructive force of old, but he had also grown sharper, more patient, and more calculating. Against Maloney, he combined the ruthless power of his early career with the maturity gained from surviving 12 grueling rounds against a legend. For Maloney, the defeat was devastating but not shameful. He had fought with courage and discipline, but against Inoue, it simply was not enough. Few fighters in the world could have withstood the precision and ferocity that Inoue displayed that night. What makes Naoya Inoue so dangerous is not merely raw punching power. Many fighters hit hard, but few deliver their shots with such perfect timing and placement. Inoue's technique is immaculate: compact footwork, crisp combinations, and an ability to read opponents within split seconds. His counters are particularly lethal. As soon as an opponent commits to a punch, Inoue punishes them with a faster, harder shot in return. Equally important is his composure. Inoue rarely wastes punches, never flails wildly, and maintains balance at all times. His fights often end in knockouts not because he is reckless but because he is ruthlessly efficient. When he senses weakness, he pounces with clinical precision. Against Maloney, this was evident in every round. The Australian did not fall to an accumulation of damage, but to one perfect right hand delivered at exactly the right moment. By the end of 2020, Inoue had firmly re-established himself as one of boxing's pound-for-pound elites. His demolition of Maloney, coming on American soil during his top-ranked debut, expanded his profile internationally. No longer was he just a Japanese phenomenon admired from afar. He was a global superstar with the skills and charisma to headline anywhere in the world. The victory also reinforced a deeper truth about Inoue's career. His greatness is not defined solely by his record or the number of belts he has collected, but by the manner in which he wins. From his early days at light flyweight to his brutal arrival at bantamweight, the common theme has been destruction. Opponents do not merely lose, they are dismantled, often left crumpled on the canvas in a scene of devastation. Looking back, the fight with Jason Moloney stands as one of the most brutal and symbolic knockouts of Naoya Inoue's career. It was not his longest battle, nor his hardest-fought victory, but it carried the weight of timing, context, and narrative. Coming off a war that had raised doubts, Inoue needed to remind the world of who he was. And he did so with frightening efficiency, delivering a knockout that reaffirmed his status as boxing's monster. For fans, the sight of Maloney collapsing under that right hand remains etched in memory, not merely as another highlight, but as a turning point. It marked the moment when Inoue transitioned from a fighter with questions hanging over him to a champion who had proven resilience, sharpened his arsenal, and returned more dangerous than ever. The monster had not faded. He had only grown. And on that Halloween night, he made it clear that his reign of destruction was far from over.